So
How's it going?
it's going fantastic. We're back for another episode of the Ultra Crude Podcast.
Woo!
I am obviously your host, John, and you are the fabulous, as always, BMFJ Rebecca Jones. Say hi to everybody.
Hey.
Do 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 do. Welcome back to the Ultra Crude Podcast. Doodly doo.
Wow, he's really been working on that. It's been a treat.
Now you know what's fun is I actually, to the tune of Family Guy, wrote one in my head while we were running Saturday.
I'm glad you didn't share that with me.
Yeah, I didn't remember that until just now. And now it's apparently too late to do it. I screwed that part up. I should have gone for it, and I didn't.
Well, maybe next time.
Yeah,
I think we'll do another episode. It's fine. You can figure it out then.
We are cranking them out.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely.
Okay.
No, you don't think we're cranking them out?
It's like 4.
Yeah, but in a row.
Yeah, that's how consecutive podcasts work.
Well, I think we discussed like the frequency to podcast.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, let's not set the bar too high because we don't know how this is going to go. I also think that we've fallen into a bit of a rhythm here.
We have.
Doing a little weekend recap.
Yeah.
Starting the week off fresh.
Yeah, we have.
And
I'm going to go ahead and apologize. You will probably hear rainbow sparkles in the background. That's Kitty.
Okay.
It's not Fatness, a.k.a. Honeysuckle Rose.
Okay. Yeah, for the listeners, we have 2 cats live here, and they got whimsical names. Wonderfully, wonderfully named pets.
Yes.
They didn't make a lot of sense to me in the time, so I just named one of them Cat and the other one Kitty. And the correct pronunciation of cat is...
Rainbows. Oh, Honeysuckle Rose or Fatness? Cat. Oh, yeah. Cat. And it's a play on Katniss, so...
A very affectionate kitty and cat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because cat is very cat-like.
She so is. It's an adorable animal.
It's very aesthetically pleasing, isn't that what you said?
For a cat, yeah. For a cat, she's aesthetically pleasing. She's fluffy. I don't know. That's it for a cat. You just want a fluffy one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's that. You might hear it. I don't know. Can I just say something?
Please, you have the floor.
I think it's spring.
I don't know yet.
I know.
I mean, I hope we're there.
I think it's spring, and I'm not a big hopeful person. I'm not positive about a lot of things, quite frankly. I'm willing to admit that I don't often have a positive outlook.
But what?
Overwhelmingly.
Listen, I'm shocked. This is news to me. Hold on. Elaborate, please.
I can be a bit grumpy from time to time.
Man, this is such news to me. I feel like my world's just being turned upside down right now.
Woo! Yeah. But anyway, I think the thing that I'm overwhelmingly positive about all the time is that it's going to get warm and stay warm.
Yeah, you are disappointingly positive about that.
Like, I'm always super hopeful that like the cold spell is ending in a couple days and it's going to be warm and it's going to be nice. It was brutally cold last week. I hated it so much. And it is like 60 degrees today.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's like shorts and t-shirt weather.
Yeah.
I mean, chilly, but
wait to go for a run. Yeah, I mean, it's not like warm yet, but it's... I really hope that the coldness is over. And I think it's going to get a little chilly for a week or so yet.
Yeah.
But the darkness, cold, frozen tundra is over.
Oh, I'm so ready for it to be over. I am ready for the oppressive heat wave that comes with summer. The choking and smothering humidity that frizzes out my hair, makes me sweat instantly when I walk out the door. I'm ready.
Yeah, humidity. Bring it back, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be able to taste the air.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, people are like, oh, you can't breathe. I'm like, I don't want to breathe.
Nope.
I want to be warm.
Smother me with your heat and humidity. I can't do another cold day.
No, I can't do it. And tell you what, every run last week was horrible because it was cold and I didn't want to do it. And every time I had to tell myself, like, because an individual run doesn't matter. And I know that, and you know that.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to build a puzzle, or you're trying to build something, and at the end of it, you've got 20% of those pieces missing. That picture isn't going to look like you want it to.
Yeah, cumulatively, it matters.
Yeah. And, we coach and we schedule plans and we do it all with the variance of life. Hey, you can't run, like, don't throw everything out of whack to get it in. Like, training should be a priority, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't do it, can't do it. We'll work around it, we'll reschedule it.
We'll figure it out.
We'll fit in that gain from that workut to your life. But I didn't really have any of those reasons other than it was cold. And I didn't want to. And I pulled that card like a couple of weeks ago. Like, it was a rainy, cold Saturday morning. And I was like, hey, it's going to be sunny tomorrow. And I'm supposed to run today? But can I run tomorrow instead?
Yeah, well, I mean, we shifted that. That made it work.
Yeah, that made it work. So I was kind of weak earlier. And so I felt like I needed to have all those pieces from a training block in there so that when I get to my race, that picture looks like I want it to look.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you wanted to pat me on the back for that, or I'm just pat myself on the back of it. But I put it out there. I think that's too many pats.
Oh, was it?
That was too many pats.
Did it surpass the point of being comforting? And did it?
Yeah, you
cross
went
into
straight to mocking
action?
pats. Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. That's not really my forte.
No, it's not. I don't think that's this. I think we have more things to talk about.
We do. I think you had a question.
I do have a question. It's not my question. It's a question given to us. We appreciate that. Hey, guys out there in podcast land. One, thank you for listening to us.
Yes, honestly, thank you so freaking much.
Didn't see that coming. But it is really, it's awesome. I appreciate it so much. And you have questions. We kind of want this to be interactive, and we want to be able to talk to you as well, for you to talk to us. So there's any way you can get us a question, Instagram, Midstate Mile, drop a comment, do whatever. We're going to find it. And then we're going to bring it up and talk about it. So this question, Ultra Runner Tom, what are some of the hardest or little known things that as athletes might not know goes into race directing? Miss Jones?
I'm trying very hard to ignore that cat right now.
Nah, the cat's going to be, she'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to need you to go ahead and take the lead because I'm trying to get my brain around not yelling at the kitty while we record.
Hey, we're professional podcasters. Don't let them peek behind the curtain. Anyway, little things that go into race directing that I think athletes or runners that show up might not know. I think one of the biggest things is just how much paperwork and red tape and, for lack of a better term, rigmarole goes into putting on an event in a park. One, there are multiple levels of like some local government and individual park rangers. Like, an individual park ranger can make or break that event.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
if you are running in an event that is in any type of park, it means that the dude or lady there is like okay with that happening, because they can absolutely stand in the way of that race director putting it on. But just the levels and the sometimes years it takes to get an event on in a state park or a national park or something to that effect. That is one of the craziest things out there. And I think for us, it's part of the reason that we've kind of decided not to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big thing. You're really at the mercy of the parks. And one of the things we learned this past weekend, too, from one of our friends is like the parks don't necessarily get a time frame of when things are going to happen at the parks. It's not communicated to the rangers or the staff typically. And things just kind of happen, and then they have to adapt and go from there. And that may not be true for all parks, but certainly for some, like they have, this is what's going to happen this year, but there's no dates necessarily.
Right. They just kind of give it to a construction crew. So if you're planning on using a parking lot and a pavilion for the start finish, there can be a crew there rebuilding it or redoing the parking lot your weekend, and they would have no knowledge you're putting on a race, and the park has no availability or capability to stop them from doing it that weekend. So that's the big part that goes into us. And so we've decided to just hold our races on private land.
Yeah.
We've been really blessed by that.
We really have. And, I think it's definitely a lot less stressful for us. It also comes with its own challenges, too.
Yeah, there's a lot more work doing it all.
Yeah, the benefits of doing it at a park, I mean, there's already infrastructure. Like, there's already pavilions. There's already parking areas and stuff like that. You don't have to build everything, and that's kind of what we're going into now as
Yep.
we expand mid-state, and have since the beginning is we don't have a barn available. We don't have these things available. Like
Yeah, we don't have power.
yeah, like we have to run it off the shop and do all these things and get creative and making the infrastructure and the utilities needed to do something available.
Yeah, and we are working on that, and hopefully here in a few months it's going to be amazing.
Yay!
Can't wait. So that's kind of one of the things. I think the biggest challenge I face as a race director, I think you would relate to this, is trying to plan something for a lot of people that is incredibly personal.
Yeah.
Because we care very, very much about the individual experience and want to know everybody that comes. We want you as an individual to feel like we put the race on to you. And I've said this to people, like they've come up to me, they've commented or they thank me or done whatever. And I said, you're welcome. We did this for you, for you. All these other people came, but I want you to know that we do this for you as an individual because we want you to have that experience. And that is hard to do.
It is. And I think we strive at our stuff to really like connect. And you touched on that, and to not have it seem like, okay, you're just coming through, here, get your medal, go home. Like,
Yep.
On occasion, I've had other people check people in, but I personally like to do that because I want to see you face to face and say, hey, and check your name off there. I saw it when you entered, and I've got him doing that. Things.
Yeah, you like for me not to do that.
Yes, I do. I do not like him to touch that. But for me, that's personal. And I know for everyone that looks different, and race directors have other things to do, but that's part of why I build out the weekend schedule the way I do so that I can have that 2 hours of that check-in, or 3 total, I guess, if you include the hour in the morning, to just say thank you. And if I know what else you have on your ultra sign up, to say, hey, good luck, or congratulations on XYZ coming up. Like that personal relationship is really important to us.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's probably times that we haven't quite gotten it for everybody, but that's something we definitely work on every year and something we want to continue to improve.
Yeah, we definitely strive for that.
Right. I think those two things. You got anything else that's hard about putting on a race?
I would say really having the foresight to look at everything that could go wrong. Like sometimes runners get upset that things are a certain way, or you have certain rules in place, or you have a certain structure to things, and they don't realize it's to negate a lot more bad things happening. And I know that can be frustrating, especially when you're having to rearrange your life to accommodate having to only use one car if you're crewing, or not being able to bring your fur baby, or whatever that is. Like, yeah, everyone calls them your fur babies. And someone actually said recently, they asked about our dog policy, and they assumed that I don't like dogs, which is incredibly inaccurate.
No, you're a big dog person.
I am, and I love dogs. I did dog rescue for years. I really love the puppers, but okay, well,
I can't handle fur baby and puppers in the same.
Whatever. I really do love them.
She does.
One, our insurance, and two, we have other animals and stuff out there. But even with that, I don't think that we would necessarily allow it, or definitely be up for discussion. And I see why a lot of races don't, because then you have to enforce so many rules around that. And that's to the point of looking at everything that could go wrong. And then you set yourself up for multiple situations that you may have to handle that take away from you being able to enhance other people's experiences, connect with them while they're there. If you're having to put out fires, and when you're the face of a race, you do have to be hands-on with some of those things. I feel like certain things should not be passed off to a volunteer, because it is going to be your name, your interaction, that if it's a bad one, that gets blasted all over social media and posted, and you should handle it in the way that you want to defend and represent yourself. At least that's how I think of it. I'm not saying that that's right nor wrong, but for me, if I mess up and I make someone mad, I'm going to have to be the one to defend myself, and I would rather not put a volunteer in that position.
No, that's fair.
So, I guess, yeah, just looking at bringing, sometimes it's hundreds, sometimes it's thousands, sometimes it's just 50 people together, and looking at all the pieces of the possible situations, and how do you go ahead and avoid those things from happening.
Yeah, I think, again, that goes back to making it a personal experience, the best personal experience for everybody that comes up. And Um, and how can you do that thing?
Hmm. So thank you, Don, for that question. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
appreciate it.
that.
Keep them coming, guys. We wanna talk about ultra running with you
Yeah.
and each other.
Yeah.
And it gives us, anyway. Um, so last episode, you kind of talked about having a bit of an emotional breakdown is definitely the right word. So this one we're going to get an emotional breakdown at the end of one of your 100-mile races. And I think as we talked past that this past week, ultra running has a tendency to bring up a lot of emotions.
Yeah, it really does.
I think people bring emotions into it, certainly. But I also think as you continue to push yourself in running and you push yourself around the area of exhaustion and resource depletion, whether that's energy, electrolytes, whatever it is, you're going to get really close to the edge on emotions and whatever those are, and they're going to come up. They're going to come up good or bad. They can come up early. They can come up late. And so I kind of want to just go over like emotions that come up. Um, you tend to most often not be an emotional runner while the running is going on.
Yeah, I do try to make that the goal. Emotions, as much as they can lift you up, they can also really bring you down. And not saying I don't experience them or don't go through them, but when I'm running, and especially for the longer distances, I really try to just be more even and
Mm-hmm.
steady
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
keep calm waters because, I found that the more excited and emotionally like excited I get and that higher, when the lows come, they feel significantly lower because you've gone from here to way down here instead of just like being here and it's a dip. Now you've just plummeted.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that everything is temporary, and I try to remember in in life, and this is one of those things that I learn in life, and I bring to ultra running and try to really apply it. Is that this is temporary.
Mhm.
Whatever it is temporary. And the hard part about that is because it's easy to focus on that when things are bad because you need to get through it. The other side of that coin is when things are good and things are up, you have to remember that that is temporary and that there's going to be a balance to that high. And so if allow yourself to dive into it and get lifted up too high by it, you're exactly right. That's going to come right back down. And instead of leveling out to a normal plane, it's most often going to come lower because I think when you're running, for me, you're putting so much into how good this feels right now and how amazing this is right now. And we don't always do the work of understanding why it's amazing
Yeah.
when we're feeling it. Well, it feels amazing because you just slammed a Dr. Pepper and have a mouthful of Skittles and you're on a sugar high right now. And in 30 minutes, you're going to start climbing a mountain and it's going to be 10 degrees warmer and your electrolytes are going to start depleting because you just had a sugar bomb and you're going to feel like crap.
Yeah.
It feels really good right now. And then you're not going to understand why you feel so bad. And that physical feeling of feeling not great, having all that readily available energy, kicking everything to overdrive, is going to make you think that what your body is feeling is going to balance out your mind, and you're just going to make your mind feel worse. I didn't say that very cleanly. What I'm saying is, I think when you lose that high from the energy, and you give it to your mind and let your mind lift it, when that body energy depletes, mentally we think that's something different and something lower, and it allows us to fall into that trap and brings us down much lower than the actual feeling physically that we got going on.
Yeah, I agree with that. Running an ultra, regardless, whether it's a 50K or a 100 miler, and it doesn't even have to be an ultra. I mean, you can feel a range of emotion throughout multiple distances. And so we're not just talking to your ultra runners here, we're talking to anyone who runs any distance. There can be a lot of emotions packed into that short or long amount of time. And it it's a roller coaster ride within itself. We don't have to speed that up.
No, you just certainly not speed up, but I think understanding why the emotions there or what emotions are going to come up
Yeah.
is step number one.
I agree. I think knowing yourself and anticipating what what you typically feel, what your roller coaster is. That's really, really important, especially when you make your race plan so that one, it doesn't catch you off guard. Like I know I have certain times at so many hours or certain mileage where I'm usually like there's kind of some things that flip
What you got
inside
going?
of me.
What you got? What you going?
We'll
What
talk
kind of
about
mileage
that.
we doing? Let's talk about it right now. What kind of mileage?
We'll talk about like my mile 20. Fuck it.
Let's talk about
Like
it
it
right now.
it doesn't matter. The race could be 21 miles. And at mile 20, I'm fucking over it. Like I'm done. I'm like, I don't want to do this all day. And it doesn't matter if it's a 50K, it doesn't matter if it's 100 mile or literally it could be 21 miles. And at mile 20, I just don't have any interest in it. Now, I've experienced that where I've actually had real stuff going on during the race. Like last year, Cruel Jewel, there was a lot of stuff that my body was still healing from and not good. So I was trying to discern between those two things. But when I started seeing spots and feeling like I was blacking out and getting tunnel vision, then okay, yeah, this is real. This is not just my mile 20. Fuck this shit. Like
That is the ultra crude portion of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Becca Jones.
but that is it does not matter, and it doesn't matter if it's on a training run. I mean, if we get to mile 20, I'm like, listen, how are we getting back to the car? Like
It's so true. Yeah, you're looking for a way to cut that run short.
Yeah. So and I know that about myself. So when I have those feelings come up, especially we'll just use for instance that 50K distance because that is a pretty popular distance. I mean, I am looking for an exit door. But I'll get to mile 22 and I'm like, all right, let's go. Here in just a few more miles, I'm going to be able to wrap this thing up. And like my mind will focus to that. But I know that's going to come up for me. And if I have other stuff that's kind of going on in life, that's the window where that creeps up and gets me. Like if there is anything that is emotionally heavy, that's typically where I am going to feel it and I'm going to want to cry and those emotions are going to well up and I'm not going to be able to keep the lid on the box. And I know that about myself. And it because I have learned that, then I can prompt myself to talk my way through it or kind of discern what is actually going on. And because you know that, you can see that and be like, oh, she'll be fine in like 5 months, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth knowing about yourself, and it's worth knowing as a career person what they're going to go through and when they're going to go through it. And if they can't tell you that, you're going to have a harder time. Fortunately, we've been on this road together, so I'm kind of more in the know of what you got going on, and I know when to listen to it a little bit more and when to let you work through your own process or when to give you lack of care and concern.
Yeah. I mean, what on your side, what would you say? What emotions have you seen come up for me or when you've seen those times?
I think definitely when you've got external stuff going on, when you've got things that you are carrying around on the daily basis, it makes it harder for you to execute. And unfortunately, we live this thing called life where, much like everyone else, there's stuff going on pretty regular out here in the world. And it's really hard to detach from that. And I think one of the reasons it's hard to detach from it is because, as you say, it's moving meditation for you. And then you're out there in this free space and you're either giving yourself time to mull it over and think about it more deeply or more concretely about what's going on because you let your mind wander there, which is great to go out in the woods and run and move and just let yourself let yourself think and give yourself space for that. But on the other hand, it allows you to bring stuff up.
It does. And I do know for me, I've made several rather large life decisions when I'm out there running. And, I know that some of those things are going to come up. And some of them have actually been pretty, it just kind of caught me off guard.
Point of order, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
For the listeners at home, can we clarify to the audience that you did in fact use a race to determine whether you actually like me or not? It's a yes or no question, Miss Jones. You are under oath.
I did. It was a very interesting ride to the race together.
Oh yeah, you was like, what is going on? She's like, well, I don't know how I'm going to feel about you once this race is over. I'm like, well, do I need to find a ride home or what's going? What are you trying to tell me? Well, I just know that I'm going to go for this run today, and it's going to give me a lot of time to think about what's going on. and I'm not sure if I'm going to like you at the end of it. And I at the time, like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we came out on the other side of it. Win for John. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah. He passed the test.
Yeah, I passed your long run test.
He didn't know until the end of the
50K
race
test.
when I came
passed.
running out and jumped up.
No
into
idea.
his
That was
arms.
not a good 50K for me.
Yeah, I'm
It
really
was
sorry.
rough.
I'm sorry. I don't think that was because of that. I think you probably would have survived.
Oh, no, my T-bands blew out and I wasn't ready for it.
Oh,
That's why it was rough. I got out there. I stopped thinking about you and started thinking about how much pain I was in, how horrible I was doing.
You're so sweet, dear.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, it was new.
Yeah.
We weren't that invested. I mean,
This has been the Ultra Crude Podcast. No, but knowing those things and knowing you're going to come through it and knowing what to expect. And I think knowing to expect that at mile 20, things are going to get a little dicey allows you to be aware of that when it comes up. And for me, I don't know if you gave me the mile 20 syndrome. I don't know if that's a thing. It's a thing now, mile 20 syndrome. That's what we're going to call it. But I think I just discovered that recently. And as I was pushing distance and trying to run farther, it was hard. It was hard for me to do. And I always felt, and I remember having this conversation with you, I'm really good at running 20 miles.
Yeah, you did say that a lot.
What is my problem? Why can I not be really good at running 30 miles? Why can I not be really good at running 50 miles? I'm really good at running 20. And I think part of it is, one, it's about standard for a long run. Mm-hmm. And so in training, in particular, I do a lot of those. I do a lot of 20-mile Saturdays, 20, 30-ish mile Saturdays, right in there. And so I think you can plant those seeds and kind of condition your brain to run that far. And your body knows that, hey, we should be wrapping this up. And then things are going to chill out. It's a long time to run, not for nothing. I don't care how fast you run 20 miles or how slow you run 20 miles. Either one of them is a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
And so typically by the time you get to that point, you are running behind on calories. You're getting a little dehydrated. Your electrolytes aren't firing the way they need to. Your brain has wandered long enough. You get bored. And all those things add up and they stack up against you. And it kind of hit me like a truck last fall. Like, oh, and you, as we were in a parking lot and you were giving me one of your universal pep talks and pulling away in the truck, not wanting to deal with my nonsense.
To be fair, you were being unpleasant.
I was having an unpleasant time.
That was not my problem.
You made that perfectly clear. But you kind of you spelled it out for me. That you've got this thing and you've got to figure it out in your head and figure out how to get past it. So now I've got this 20-mile problem looming in the distance for April. And what the crap am I going to do to get past it and get around it? Yes, show of hands. Question for Miss Jones. Yes, lovely redhead to my left.
You're going to keep fucking running.
Yeah. Okay, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I mean, I know that was like a big mystery there.
Yeah, I am going to keep running. Okay, not for nothing. There is more to this, and the simple answer is keep running and just don't quit. Keep going. Okay, that's cute. That's fine. It makes a fun T-shirt, but that's not reality. If you don't learn what is actually going on, if you don't learn how you're actually responding and learn how to shift that response into something productive, all you're ever going to be able to do is put your head down and push through it. And unless you want to be a bulldozer in every single area of your life and ignore what's going on, you need to figure out another way.
It's very well said.
Like you have to actually figure out what's going on in your brain.
Oh, no, I agree.
You have to figure out why you're feeling this right now, whether you need to listen to that feeling, because sometimes, guess what you do? If you're in an unhealthy relationship, if you're in an unhealthy workplace dynamic, putting your head down and filing the TPS reports is probably not the solution. Figure out why it's going wrong.
Yeah.
Figure out why that thing is unhealthy. Don't put your head down and stir the mashed potatoes. That's not the answer. Figure out what's going on. Fix it. I figured it out. You figured it out. Like, hey, this is a normal thing that comes up. Mile 20, I'm going to have all these things going on. Okay, this makes sense that I feel like crap and don't want to keep running anymore. Just keep running. Mile 30, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. I think another really great tool to use, and we've had some athletes adopt this, and maybe it's something we should look at.
Ooh, let's look at it.
But giving that emotion or that time like a name,
Ooh. What didn't we just call Mile 20 syndrome?
No.
Oh.
Or that person, whoever you are, like, give it a name when that person shows up who is full of self-doubt, or who is being the negative Nancy, or who can't work through that. Be like, oh God, stupid Sally's here. Like, no offense to anyone named Sally.
Just isolating people from the audience.
Yeah, like being able to actually put those feelings into some sort of actualization, which is typically a name, and something like that, and you could acknowledge it. It helps you break down and address and move through it.
That is gangbusters. I love that. Yeah, name it.
Yeah.
Call it out. Call whatever that is and give it to somebody else that's not you. Like, that's I know, and that's the tough part, because I know that's not me.
Yeah.
And what's really tough is because I think it is.
Yeah,
and that's the emotion that I often go through more than anything else.
It becomes a reality that you feel, but it's not the actual reality of who you are, what you're capable of, or what you're able to do. Like, it's just a temporary state of how you are.
No, I'm taking it in. I'm taking it in. And I think that is what's always tough for me in those spots, is because I begin to believe those things about myself. I feel my emotions don't usually go to anger when I'm running. They don't usually go to joy. I don't believe in a runner's high. I don't think it exists. I've never found it. I'm not even looking for it at this point.
Yeah.
But it is always this, I feel like I've let myself down so much in life. And not for nothing, like when you set goals to do something and you fall short and that goal takes a lot longer, that muscle memory is there. That muscle memory of falling short, whether it's your fault or not, whether you physically couldn't do it or you just mentally weren't strong enough to do it, or emotionally couldn't keep it together enough, that's going to come back up. Your body remembers that response. And you're building bricks in a wall, and that wall becomes harder and harder to break through and harder to get over. And I know this about myself, that when I'm starting to feel that way, like it's a foothold. It's rooted deep into my past, because I do feel like I've let myself down. I do feel like I've underachieved. I do feel like, man, you're just not strong enough. Like, maybe it's not meant for you. And to be able to push past that, like, I wish I could just get angry. Like, I wish, like, when I ran, like, I just got angry about something and rambled on, or and made big life choices. But that's not it for me. It becomes this other emotional thing. And so now when I get ready for April, I have to be really cognizant of that. And it's not that I want to hang self-worth or value of who I am on completing this thing I've set out to do. But man, it's hard not to. When you put a lot of eggs in that basket and you say, this is what I'm going to do, and you come up short, it is hard to process and feel good about yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's completely understandable, but that's also why we encourage people to really do the work outside of running. Running is
100%.
Yeah. And running is a tool in your life. It can't be what your life is built around, because
100%.
there's going to be times where, whether it's your fault or the weather or something else happens, that you will not be able to accomplish your goal, and that's okay. But I think us as runners, it's very hard to not put your self-worth or not have it tied to what you are capable of. And you watch a lot of people, when they come up short, really get down in the dumps and get blue. But you see also people who are so comfortable with themselves, or have gone through so much. You see this a lot with people who have been in recovery for a long time.
Mm.
Like they've done a lot of really deep work. And I mean, active in recovery, not just got sober. They went through a lot of therapy or whatever, and they are able to, they've had a lot of self-realization and reflection. And anyways, they just are able to move past it and accept it. It's a very impressive level of acceptance that I wish I saw in more of us in the sport, rather than all of those feelings that we let consume us sometimes when things don't go our way. Um, and a couple more points on like what you were saying. Like I genuinely believe, and there's been studies to back this up, that the body holds trauma.
100%.
So when you're feeling all of those emotions and going through that stuff, like you're building neuro pathways that's
Yeah.
going to be triggered. And sometimes, yes, you should pull the plug, but sometimes you are building a wall that's just going to be higher to climb. Whereas that day, you need to go ahead and push through there, rather than programming yourself to have that default setting of saying, I can't do this and pulling out. Like you
Yeah.
need to continue to take that step forward, because the next time it's going to be harder.
Well, and two, I think the other thing that we miss as people, by the way, not just ultra runners, as people, is that there are perfectly reasonable and important reasons to feel how you are feeling.
Yeah.
I tell people this all the time. Life, running, I do some wilderness stuff, take people in the backcountry, teach them leadership skills, how to be better people. It's awesome. I love it. And every time you see somebody at the top of a pole that is afraid, or they're at the bottom of the ladder afraid to climb, I just go, hey, yeah, you're supposed to be.
Yep.
I had this conversation with Ali yesterday. He's like, well, I don't like flying. I'm afraid to fly. I've never done it. I said, well, you should. That's normal. That's a normal feeling. You are afraid. You are nervous. You're apprehensive. You have anxiety around something that you have never done or experienced.
Yeah.
That's why those feelings are there. They exist for a reason. And it's important to feel. And it's so important to feel your feelings. I'm not saying you should let them make decisions for you. I'm not saying they should rule your life. But understand it's important to feel them. There's reasons that you're sad. Why? This is why. Okay, yeah, you're supposed to be sad. This is supposed to be hard. There are reasons that you are anxious right now. Like, that's a perfectly normal thing. Like, embrace the being anxious. That's how it's supposed to feel. There is a reason you're happy. Be happy. And we want to just gloss over it and go, I don't want to feel that right now. I can't feel that right now. No, 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 no. That hard feeling is just as important to feel as every other feeling. It's coming for a reason. You're supposed to be afraid. That's a response to keep you alive.
Yeah, you're programmed to feel that. And I did want to touch on the, saying, sometimes it would just be but easier to get angry and push on through it or feel
Yeah,
anger.
well, I want to feel angry so I don't have to feel bad about myself.
Yeah.
Which isn't better, by the way. I say that in jest.
Yes. But we see that used as a tool very often. And it's very important to, hey, I'm super guilty. So I'm
No,
speaking
I
from
know.
like a place of, yup, that's me. But anger is a secondary emotion. It's actually not an emotion. It's caused by something else. And we see people in a race, if I just get mad and rile myself up, well, there's a reason you're able to get angry. Like, is it because you won't feel like you're good enough? You feel like people are judging you? Does that make you feel vulnerable? Does that hurt your feelings? Like, it's a type of avoidance typically.
Yeah, 100%.
Or it can be a response to being let down, people saying things that they don't believe in you, or whatever. Maybe it's reflective of your own self-perception of who you are. But it is a secondary emotion, and it is also a tool that only gets you so far. It only lasts so so long. And if you find yourself motivated by anger, I really challenge you to look deeper into that and explore the emotions that are underneath that. There's a thing called the emotional guidance scale, and I send it out to our athletes, and I really do encourage anyone in life as well, but to explore that. And you can see like where you move up and down and how you're going through emotions. And understanding your reaction, you can figure out how to get higher up on the emotional guidance scale and how to move to joy and gratitude from defeat, sadness, anger, anxiety. And it's really interesting to watch because if you take that scale and you were to take it to an ultra, you can watch people move up and down that and you can see how someone's talking to their crew or their emotional state where they are. And like, it's
listen, no,
it's
I know
interesting.
how a runner's race is going to go based on how they're talking to their crew.
Yeah, and we've sat there and witnessed it, but a lot of that is that, like, we say, oh, when you see them next time, here's what they're going to be saying. And it's because you can see where they are on that scale, and whether we recognize that that's where we're seeing them, but like, there's only so many places you can go before you, unless you want to back up, and you really have to do work to do that. But it's like this huge experiment. It's just playing out in front of you. I don't know.
No, it definitely
I'm always
is.
fascinated by it.
Well, it's part of the reason that I go back to it, and I want to continue to do this. Not for like this race in April's terrified, genuinely, because I know I'm going to have to go through this process. I know I'm going to have to get better at this process over the next couple months, and then I'm going to have to go through it to get what I want out of it. And for me, I've not had that big joy of finishing something. Like you always think like, oh, I'm going to get the finish line. I'm going to feel this and this and this and this and this. I've not had it. I've seen it happen. I know other people do it. Doesn't happen for me. And so I don't want to put too many eggs in that basket either. Because if that thing is what's motivating you, if that's the emotion you're counting on, then that can be a huge letdown. Even if still is. If you're running out here and you're doing this because you enjoy the nature and you want this beautiful, serene environment, and you just want to explore and be joyful in creation, which is an awesome, awesome thing to do. Well, if it's rainy and cold that day, I don't know how much you're ingrained to just enjoy it and be happy. Like you put a lot of your eggs in the joy basket.
Again, I reference back to the emotional.
Am I not high on the emotional? I'm not. You can be grateful still. You can still do that with gratitude, can't you?
You can. Gratitude moves you higher up, and
attitude of gratitude.
It's gratitude, attitude.
I like an attitude of gratitude,
and
that's how I'm going to say it.
Well, it does. It moves you through things with more joy. Now, it is easier to stay there. Now, does it take practice? I mean, you know this, especially when I do longer races, and I need to do this for the shorter ones, but I write thank you notes.
You do.
To the aid stations and to the RD. And it's one, I am extremely grateful for them and them being there and all the hard work. But two, kind of selfishly, like it's an act of gratitude. It's a gratitude practice for me because when I have to go and get that card out of my pack and hand it to them, I am reminded that I am grateful to be here. I am reminded that I am grateful for them. And it takes me back up to that level of coming from a place of joy and a more elevated state. And it helps them. And then they're always like, oh, this is so nice. And then they're like, if someone's like feeling tired, it's 2:00 in the morning, like that gives them some more energy to go on to the
a happy
next
aid station worker is a good aid station worker.
Yeah, I mean, and it elevates everybody. And it is for me, like going through that practice of writing those cards is one of my favorite thing pre-race
rituals.
Yeah.
We'll call it
that I enjoy doing. It puts me in a good mindset, and said going and digging that out and handing that over just fills me with joy. And even if I'm in a rough spot, and I have definitely been in a couple rough spots when I've handed those over, it gives me just a boost to say
it does look like you're kind of running for governor every now and then. But that's such an excellent point to something that you can actualize and physically do to remind yourself of the gratitude and give that gratitude out. Right. Like I don't feel gratitude right now in this moment, but I know that I am grateful, and this is how I'm going to show it. This is the physical thing that I can do. This is the tangible thing I can bring forward to display the emotion that might not be overwhelming at the top, but I know is present. And doing those things, that's fantastic. I don't write thank you cards. I don't know that I will, but I do recommend it, and it's a great practice.
Yeah, so that's not.
If everybody does it, it won't be your thing anymore. It's Becca's thing, everybody.
It's
It's
not.
her thing.
It's Mailman Steve.
Yeah, Mailman Steve does do it.
Yeah,
which is awesome. More people should do it, quite frankly.
Yeah, he said after
I have
he
horrible
listened
handwriting.
to.
I'm trying to give myself an out.
I have really bad handwriting.
You write wonderfully.
Yeah, he said after he heard me talk about that. That's like something I can do. Like I can write a thank you card, and he found the joy in handing those out, and it was so nice as an RD to get one.
Yeah, it is really awesome to get one. By the way, yeah, it is awesome. So if you are thinking about that, do it. Highly encourage that as well.
Or hey, there was another race I saw where someone was handing out random individual like happy notes, like little mantras and stuff like that. Whatever is your deal. If it brings you joy and spreads joy, by all means, do it.
You know how this would transpire for me, by the way?
Don't ask to pin it on anyone or do anything like that. I think someone said they were like, somebody was pinning stuff on people at a race.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely happened. But I knew exactly what I would feel if I was in my space and somebody was running out thank you cards and little notes. I would feel 10 times worse about myself.
Really?
Like, oh yeah, all of that feeling that I have internally of like the self-doubt and the not feeling as good as I want to feel, because I want to feel good when I run. Like I desperately want to feel good when I run. I want it to feel great, and I want things to click, and I want to be on that plane. If somebody beside me rolled in and was just bebopping, handing out, if we came to the aid station at the same time and you were running for governor and I was there trying to hold on for my life, I would 100% feel worse. But that's me. That's a me problem. That's something that I have to work on, and I have to realize. And this is what we do out here on the trail: is we continue. We let other people's attitude or outward expression affect what we got going on internally, and we can either feed off their energy, or we can feed into the feeling we already have. And my default is a feeling into as a person.
Yeah, I think you really have to get outside yourself.
No, I do. But conversely, I love to lift people up.
You do. You're very good.
My natural state is an encourager. Now, my encouragement looks different. Not from that. But I enjoy encouraging people, and I want to bring people up. It just takes more work for me to do, because it's not always that feeling I have going on. It's being intentional about what I give to other people.
So, what would you say are some other emotions that come up for you, or an example?
That's the big one. I think that what's funny is that the stuff that makes me emotional in life never comes up in running. Anytime I think about my folks, it's emotional for me. One, because I'm just extremely grateful that they are the people they are, and and anytime I see the best in someone, and movies or TV or in person or whatever, anytime I see somebody doing something that they are really good at, when I see somebody giving their all and reaching the peak of what they can do, it always pulls at me emotionally, because I get kind of get welled up, because I'm so happy for them in the moment. Like you've worked, you've given everything you have to this thing to be the best of yourself. It's just truly incredible, and that's partly because that's what I want for me. I want to give the best to myself, and I want to do it when I run. Like listen, I'm out here because I think this is the best version of me, and I want the best version of me to show up, and I want to find out exactly what I'm capable of and how I can go about it. And so when I see that in others, it's just an incredible, incredible feeling. I can't help but to root for them.
I love that. And I can just see it in your face right now.
I'm a very emotional person.
You are.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody. Soft on the inside.
Yeah. Ooey gooey.
Secrets. I'm a stern-faced, cold-hearted whistleblower. Listen, I want you. And it is those moments, and it does pull at me in the race. Seeing the best of people. And I do love it.
Well, it shows.
Well, thank you. What about you? What makes you emotional, Miss Jones? I guess I'll say this. You don't have to divulge all your emotions. I know. Do the things that make you emotional in life come up most often while you're running?
Yeah, that is usually where things will come up for me. Um, I make the time, space, emotional energy to dive into them, or they sneak up on me. Sometimes they do sneak up on me.
Are you setting yourself up to have those emotions while you're running and trying to focus?
No,
Okay.
no. Typically, it's just, sometimes I'll feel like a little tired or feel like a little lull, and that's when it'll creep up. When things feel harder than I
Mm.
think that they should is usually when the emotions start unpacking.
This is what I said to Miss Jones at like mile 2025. She came in emotional about it feeling hard. And I just looked at her and I said, it's supposed to be hard because it is. And that was the thing. And I think sometimes in life and in this sport, you need somebody to look you in the eye and tell you the things that are true and acknowledge that thing. It's so hard. Good. It's supposed to be hard. That's why you're here. That's why you're doing this. I don't know why you thought it would be easy. You just ran over 3 mountains. You're going through this genuine crisis in life. This is supposed to be hard. We are not programmed as human beings for these things to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. Understand that and know that it's okay. And I think that's where we get so mixed up with emotions and life and running that we don't give ourselves permission to feel it and understand that it's okay to feel the thing. Like it's supposed to be hard. You're going to keep going because you're capable.
Yeah.
And you want to and you can. And in life, you need to keep going. Understand it can be hard. You can keep going.
And you said some things to me during that race that I really did need to hear at the time. But there was a lot of stressful unknowns in life, and
Am
there
I
was a
thinking
lot of
about the wrong race?
no. We're thinking about cultural.
Yeah, well, it's always cordial, Miss Jones.
Well, I think it was the 50.
Yeah, there was another time. There was another time, and maybe this is what you're saying, and you came in and you were not having a good run because you had that space. It was the 50. And you didn't know why it was hard. It was a couple years before, and you didn't understand what was going on. And what I said to you is, I think this is it: is take the next 5 miles for yourself. You're out here in the woods. There's nobody around you. You don't have anybody on your tail. You're a couple minutes behind the person. Go out here and give it to God and listen to what he says.
Oh, I'm gonna
And
get
run these 5 miles for yourself.
Yep. And then you said let it go, and I'm getting emotional thinking about it. But and I needed to hear that more than anything. There was nothing else I think that anyone could have said at that time that took me out of that space. And I took the next 2 miles of climbing to say, okay, and I did. And I talked to God, and I got to a good place, and was able to like let it all go. I mean, yeah, there were a lot of things coming up. I also broke my toe in the first 13 miles. There were so physically I was in pain, mentally, emotionally I was in pain, and not ready to feel any of all of that. I think I was really struggling to compartmentalize multiple things, and it just kept like blaring at me. It was like this big siren, and there were people around, and I didn't want to cry, I didn't want to have this breakdown, didn't want to do all those things. And when I finally got to the point where I was like, all right, I will, and I'm just going to let it go. Well, then I was coming to the aid station. I'm like, I am not coming into the aid station
Yeah.
looking like that. But I took that 2 miles following that to cry, let it go. And then I got back to a really good place. And I remember I was like, I'm actually going to listen to music, which I don't typically listen to music, but I kind of wanted to recompose myself. And then I remember people coming up behind me and then started talking. And next thing I knew, I was involved in a conversation and running with people. But when that first started, I was like, I don't necessarily want to talk right now. I'm still in a weird emotional state. And really, I wanted to withdraw more than anything because I was still feeling kind of like the emotional lull of having all of those emotions and getting into it. Uh, and I'd let myself drop down so far. But, you saying that was really the best thing. It was like, it just gave me the permission to say, feel it,
Yeah.
and then move through it.
Rarely,
Feel it, acknowledge it, and move through it.
really, rarely in life or in running is ignoring and bottling it up going to have benefit?
It has a time and place, but overall, I
Like,
know exactly what you're saying, and you're right.
having the space to process it, understand it. Is it real? Is it just normal? Is it something that needs to be addressed or something that needs to be ignored? Is the far better out avenue. Working through it will always surpass stuffing it down. Like, that is going to gain you more emotional strength, more emotional leverage, more emotional endurance if you're able to process. And that will always, always be my answer. Is if you cannot process your emotions, if you cannot gather it up and have a hard conversation, you're not better off. I don't care how far you can run if you can't pick up a phone and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, use the tools that you can gain in ultra running, or use the tools that you can practice in ultra running for your life and apply them.
Yeah, it's a great arena, a great field for that. Yeah.
It's going to be emotional, I think, is the short answer to the question about emotions. Expect it. Don't shy away from it. Give yourself the space to feel what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Have somebody in your corner that goes, hey, yep, this is kind of how you're supposed to feel. It's okay. All right, I was going to wrap it up. That was my ending. But I'm going to throw this out there. There is nothing I want to hear less than you're doing great when I'm not.
Oh, no, same, 100%.
Like, you're doing great. You're doing awesome. No, I'm not. You don't know me. This is a bad spot. I'm not. I should be doing way better right now. But work through it. Don't deny it. Have somebody that can speak truth and life into you, and keep on going.
Yeah. You'll waste a lot less energy acknowledging it
100%.
and moving through it. Sitting there trying to step it down for the next 20 miles doesn't always work. Just
Very rarely.
take the
if
few
ever.
minutes. Yeah, take the few minutes, acknowledge it, have your person, talk to yourself, whatever you need to do so that you can move through it rather than continuing to fight it, because there's enough you're fighting in your day-to-day life or your relationships or your job or, just on the social media internet thing. Good Lord knows we got enough fights going on there, but don't fight yourself. Make yourself your greatest ally, because you can very easily become your worst enemy. You don't want to do that, especially when you're out there trying to do really hard things.
Exactly. If you're going to train the miles, you're going to buy the right shoes, train the emotions, and learn how to use them to your advantage, when to listen to them, when to let them go. I'm sure 100% that we will talk about emotions again sometime soon, right here on the Ultra Crew Podcast with always the fabulous BMFJ squared. I'm John. Hey guys, thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Bye.